Chris Cantelmo here. Sorry about that. I was talking about my ayahuasca ceremony and then a phone call came in. Should have had my phone on airplane mode. I didn't. Okay, listen, I'm just going to cut to the chase real quick. I'll fill in the details. So I overcame my fear of being murdered by this group of ayahuasca journeyers. And I brought my stuff back in, calmed down, and I got into the experience. And it was one of the most fantastic things that has ever happened to me. When I settled into the experience, laid back, it was at night, it was dark in this room, this bed and Airbnb, and so I realized I wasn't going to be murdered and chopped up into little pieces, and I calmed down, I laid back, and I closed my eyes, and the visions I had were as clear as those when you have your eyes open. And I saw the entire history of humanity played out in front of me. The Garden of Eden, Adam and Eve gaining self-consciousness. A world where everything was bountiful and beautiful and wondrous. And little by little, more and more people got involved. And interspersed with these images of humanity would come in there would be images of humanity. I think that when your brain is enabled with DMT, your mind, there's a notion that our mind makes up this stuff. It's not true at all. What happens is our mind becomes an antenna. And there's a broadcast that we then pick up. That's why when you have groups of ayahuasca takers, a lot of times they all hallucinate the same hallucination. You got to say, how is that possible? It's because it's a broadcast. They're all tuned into the same station. So there was this, basically the history of humanity, and interspersed occasionally, it would be like, okay, you know what, we're about to hit the religious wars where a bunch of people are going to get slaughtered. And I watched these people getting slaughtered, getting cut in half and going through wars and getting burned at the stake, and just watching where is this coming from? Like these things, these visions could not possibly be created in my skull. I got a great imagination, but not that good. And so you basically, when your eyes are closed, you're watching this as if it's just the most riveting movie you've ever seen, except it's a 3D movie, and there are smells and everything. You're living this thing. Because the broadcast that you get isn't just a visual broadcast, it's just odors and everything. All your senses are just ignited with you're just a recipient of everything that you need to know. And then somehow, just when it's like you've seen enough of people, humanity doing that to itself, then there's like the curtains would come down. And the curtains were made of these like streamers. These like a rainbow streamers. Almost like, what would it be like? Anyone who's seen California kelp, the way the kelp fronds, sort of like when the current isn't running, the fronds on the surface float on the surface, but the fronds, when the fronds start to float sort of down, and as if you were looking down and up at these kelp fronds, except they were the colors of the rainbow. This one was orange, and this one is purple, and this one's red. And they're coming down, and they're just sort of dancing in front of your eyes, and you get like you've just watched humanity try to destroy itself. You're like, oh, okay. At least now I've got these colorful kelp fronds relaxing me. And then through the kelp fronds, you would then be shown Mother Nature. Like here would these big, huge, beautiful tuna would just show up, swim by you with these huge eyes, the size of tuna's eyes, these big black eyes. come up and look at you and swim past. And then a big whale would come up, just go past you. And then you're brought into this world that's so beautiful. And you realize that's where we're supposed to be. And so there's some broadcast out there where you're being shown that humanity, when humanity gets greedy and vengeful and wanting more and more and more, people start killing each other. But there's a better world out there. There's nature. And yeah, we all got to eat in nature. Those whales, they eat little guys. We've all seen shark feeding frenzies with sharks, and everybody's got to eat. But there's a way to eat where everybody gets dinner. And then there's humanity, where so many people are starving and then greedy, because the greedy ones want more. They got to take it from poor people, and it leads to wars and disgusting situations. So there's all this flip back and forth between the way it could be and the way it has been. And you look and it's just so just unbelievable, just incredible. And then I was like Mr. Active during the ceremony. I'm an active person, so I'd go into these, dream states, and then I'd get up and I'd have to walk around. I'd go outside and look at the stars and things, and then I'd come back. And when you're awake, you're seeing spirits. I saw this one thing that I remember so clearly. There was a portrait of someone I didn't know who it was. It was in the house. It was probably, I don't know, some maybe 18th century like outdoorsman, California outdoorsman or something. Maybe someone who had been involved in settling Joshua Tree. And out of this portrait bulged in a translucent electromagnetic light, a bulge of light being. And this settler got my attention. Like, hey, I see you're not in your little dream world. Come here, like, hey, pay attention. And maybe it was like a fly fisherman or something, because once he got my attention, he sent this fly, like this little fish, like almost like a lure, this lure that he sent out. This beautiful pixelated fish lure that came right at me like this, and it was a lure of love. This lure was like, hey, you need to love. Love is you're not ingesting enough love in your life. You need to love life. You need to love life. You need to love life, and you need a love life. And here came this lure. And because I'm a fisherman, and I assumed it was a lure, right? I think I'm going to get hooked. I was a little nervous about this thing coming at me, because I wanted to eat it, but I was afraid I might get hooked. Just this thing kept coming at me as it came closer and closer. It got more and more beautiful, and it was fish-like, but also it was a message. It was like a fish message of love. And as it came up to me, I looked over at Nikki, and I was like, oh, I don't know. There's like a fish message of love, and there was Nikki laying next to me in her little dream world. I was like, you know what? I'm going to eat this thing. I swallowed that little fish message of love, and it felt great. I'm glad I did it. And I was kind of hoping that when I did that, Nikki would wake up and we'd get married and run out of there and have a whole life together. But that didn't happen. But I got the message that it's all about love. And you know what? In trying to bring the message of love to people, you've been there, I've been there. We get attacked. And then you got to fight back. Like in the short term, sometimes you got to be unloving. You got to say, hey, motherfucker, back off. Like, I'm trying to do a good thing here. And I'm sorry you're misinterpreting what I'm trying to say. I'm sorry you're misinterpreting the message, and I got to lay down the law here for a second. Like, back off. Stop accusing me of shit that's not true. In the long term, it's all about love. It doesn't mean in the short term, every step of the way is going to be loving. And if you act like a shithead, you're going to get told you're a shithead. So when I went back to, like, you go in and out of like a wakeful state and then a more dream state. And when I went back into like a dream state, one of the most profound things that I've ever seen. So close your eyes, but there's more going on than with your eyes open, or at least as much, let's say. And picture now in a pure black void. But it's like a glossy black. Like, it's a beautiful black, as beautiful as black can ever be. Floats in this, like a Rubik's Cube. But it's not 3 by 3 or whatever those are, right? 3 by 3 Rubik's Cube. It's like 12 by like 6 by maybe 6. It was a rectangular Rubik's Cube. And each cube was a different person that I had interacted with in my life. Like, the cubes, they were people, little renditions of all the people I had ever met in my life. And some of them were awake, like the people on this end of the cube were awake and going about their lives in their little cube that I was watching. And people on this end of the cube were asleep, because it was like nighttime over here and it was daytime over there. And the cube was rotating. So the people who started out in the back of the cube would come to the front so I could see them. And the people, who were in the front of the cube here would go to the back. So this whole rotating Rubik's Cube, rectangular Rubik's Cube, was going on. And the message was that what we do for each other is we wake each other up. Like the woke people on the border between the sleeping people and the woke people, they wake up. You wake up your neighbor, say, "Hey, wake up. You've been asleep for a while. Wake up." And I recognized it immediately as, like, I don't know if you guys have watched Bill Murray, the great comedian, actor, Bill Murray, talk about being woke, and the way he now, in his everyday life, he spends a lot of time just going out into the public and just showing up, going to, like, walk down the street if he hears a party going on in a townhouse or something in New York. He just goes into the townhouse and joins the party. And people, he knocks on the door and it's Bill Murray, and people are like, "Holy shit, Bill Murray's here." And then he just does what he does. And he talks about this, like he says his job now, he knows, because he's done ayahuasca. Bill Murray's job is now is to wake other people up. We all need to sleep, we need to rest, but you also need to wake people up, people who are sleeping. And what I saw in this is, hey, Chris, you know what? Now you've got the message. Now you need to go and wake up other people. And they're sleeping people who have lost touch with spirituality. They're asleep. They're immune, almost immune to spirituality. Hopefully no one is actually immune, but so you need to go and wake those people up and say, hey, there's a life out here. There's a bigger world. Don't get caught up in all this materialistic bullshit. This you gotta work constantly. Hey, you're not working enough. Hey, your boss wants you to show up on Saturday. You know what? Because your boss wants to make more money. Your boss is a greedy motherfucker. And if you're not 100% in the company, even though you own no percent of the company, you still got to work like you're 100% of the company, because your boss is a greedy motherfucker. Well, you know what? You tell your boss to go fuck himself, because that's not the future. That message was so clear as day. Not a feeling at all. Just visually perfect. In such a way that, like, I could never, my imagination did not make that up. It just works so perfectly. And so this thing is just rotating, and all these people are waking up, asleep, and then waking up, and then helping other people wake up. And it went on, I don't know how long it went on for, but it was just so beautiful. I was just laying back watching this. Just so incredible. All right, anyway, I got to start heading up on top of that mountain where I'm going to vape this. I showed you guys earlier. I've got this new batch of DMT. And I'm going to go vape up there. Chris Cantelmo here with another vibration. Be good.